Hello and welcome to OctopusDo. I'm Kristen Ross. Today I'm going to be talking about bead stringing wire. It's a little bit different from the shaping wire that you saw in my looping wire video, and it's very important when you want to have flexible jewelry as opposed to something that is more structured. The reason being is bead stringing wire is flexible. It is a stranded wire. It has several strands woven together to make a flexible cable. Let me show you the difference. Regular wire that I've been using so far has been something like this. It's a stiff wire, and if you bend it, it's going to hold its shape. This is perfect for making loops, making ear wires, or anything that you need to stay in a certain shape. If you were to flex this back and forth several times, it would turn brittle and break. That's not going to make a very good draped necklace. What you need is bead stringing wire for that. There's a lot of really important information that you can find on the packaging of most bead stringing wire. So let's go over some of that. First of all, you'll see the number of strands. It's very predominant in this packaging from Beading. You'll see the number of strands written very boldly here: 7, 19, and 49. This is not a size indicator. This doesn't tell you how big the wire is. It tells you how many strands make up this cable. For example, the 7 strand here has 7 strands woven together. Now the 19, of course, has 19 strands, and the 49, you'll find it on the back of this particular one, has 49 individual wires twisted together in groups, and that makes a more flexible wire. That is what the number of strands influence, how flexible your beading wire is. So if you're making something that needs to have more structure to it, needs to stand out almost like your regular shaping wire, then pick the 7 strand. The 19 is a good medium, middle of the road line, and the 49 is generally a higher end but more flexible option. Another factor in choosing your stringing wire is going to be the size of the wire. Now, I mentioned that the number of strands doesn't really influence the size of the wire. That's a separate measurement, and I'll show you where to find that on here. But basically, you want to use the largest diameter wire that will fit in the bead of your hole, or the hole of your bead. That prevents your bead from moving back and forth, creating friction and causing the strand to break. Where you find the size indication on the spool will be right here. It's generally listed in inches and millimeters. So 0.018 inches is your diameter, or 0.46 millimeters. I have the same measurement here on the 19 strand. So basically, even though one is a 7 strand, one is a 19, they are the same size. Same thing here with this 19 strand and this 49 strand spool of wire. These are both 0.024 inches, 0.24, or 0.61 millimeters, if you prefer millimeters. And even though one is a 19 strand, one is a 49, they are the same size. Once you've decided on the amount of flexibility that you need for your wire strand and the size of wire that you need, the next thing that you need to consider is how you're going to finish your piece of jewelry. I highly recommend crimping as a way to finish, because it's a lot easier than tying a knot in your wire, especially if it's the less flexible 7 strand, although the 49 strand can knot really well, but that's a different video. Stay tuned for my video on crimping, and I'll get into the specifics of exactly how to do this process. But in the meantime, we're just going to talk about what crimps to use with what wire. Again, you'll find this information on the packaging. Thank you, Beading. There are generally 2 types of crimping crimps. There are generally two types of crimps. One is a crimp tube, which is a cylinder, and one is a crimp bead, which is a bead shape, a round shape in general. When you're picking up crimp tubes and crimp beads, most of the packaging is going to tell you a number, and that number is going to be equivalent to the size. The smaller the number, the smaller the crimp tube or bead. For example, I have some crimp tubes here from Beading, and these are a silver plated, and they're a size 2 listed right there. And so you can see that is one of the more common sizes. And so you can see these guys are pretty small. I have the same thing here in the copper. That is a size 2, which is equivalent to 1.3 millimeters or 0.051 inches. I also have this multi-pack I'll show you. It does not give me a specific number size for my crimps, but it tells me millimeter size, so 1.5 or 2.0 or 2.5. So there are 3 different sizes here. Oh, and I showed you what a crimp tube looks like. Let me show you crimp beads. It's really all about personal preference as to which one you'd like to use for your projects. Here's my tubes. I generally just prefer using the tubes. It gives me a little bit more, I don't know, of the metal, I guess, to hold on to. And I just prefer using those. But definitely crimp beads are an option. So how do I know which crimp tube or crimp bead to use? I go back to my packaging. So on this particular 7-strand 0.018 inch, the package tells me to use a number 1 if I'm using a bead, that's what that shape is indicating, or a number 2 if I'm using a tube. So that means that my number 2 packaging here will work perfectly with the 0.018. On this 0.024 inch, the packaging tells me to use a number 2 or number 3 crimp bead, or a number 2 or number 3 crimp tube, that either one of those would work. Now, as a matter of fact, some of the packaging from Beading goes even further, and all this information, by the way, you can find on their website. Some of them have a chart that gives you information for more than the size on that particular packaging. So on my 49 strand, if I flip this over, I'm going to get the inch size and the millimeter size of my wire. And then if I'm using a crimp bead, this is the recommended size, crimp tube, the recommended size, and a scrimp end or this compression finding would work on those particular sizes. So just to go over the last little bit of information that you'll find on the packaging. Of course, you're going to find the length of wire that is on the package because the spools are mainly all the same size. You just have to look to see how much wire you're getting. Like this particular spool is 100 feet of wire. This particular spool, even though it is the same size, only has 30 feet on it. And this one, again, same size, only has 15. And 15 looks like more than that. I've just used quite a bit of it. You'll see the color designation, which basically means that this is a stainless steel wire, but it has a gold color plated to the outside and a coating, a polymer coating like nylon on the outside, and that is going to help keep it from tarnishing and wearing. This particular color is called Bright, and it is a bright silver. The gold color looks like gold. This one is Champagne. It's not quite as gold. I'll put these next to each other. It's not quite as gold as the gold. This probably is my favorite. It is called Silver Rose and kind of has a rose gold or coppery look to it. You'll also find some of these that are actually silver plated and gold plated, and that's important to know for your higher end jewelry, definitely. But I like just the gold plated or the gold tone just as well. And you may have noticed that I've been primarily talking about Beading so far. There are great wires out there made by other companies. Don't get me wrong, I know myself, I'm personally just more familiar with the Beading company, and they haven't done me wrong at all. So I continue to use that brand. I love it. One thing that I will point out on this is that they are a made in USA American company. And they actually employ quite a few friends of mine. So I'm a big fan of Beading. I'll point out that I do also like the Softflex company. I have nothing against them. They're a great company as well. And they're also a made in the USA company. One thing that I prefer about the Softflex company is their colored wires actually have the color that is the most outside layer of their designs. And so it really has a truer, brighter, more intense color on their colored wires. So that is definitely something to look for. This is the antique brass color, and it really has just a beautiful brown on that. But they also make gemstone colors such as tanzanite, fluorite, that are just beautiful, and I highly recommend those. Most of their wires are the 19 strand or the 49 strand, and they're very flexible and great to work with as well. I hope this video helped you understand a little bit more about your beading wire. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, definitely leave me a comment below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and click on subscribe and notifications so you'll know when the next video comes out. As I said, I'm going to work on a crimping video to really show you how to secure this beading wire, so stay tuned for that.